welcome to the Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we've got a conversation for you.
Today's conversation comes to us from one of our readers. They asked us to give us kind of some insight as to what cars could we buy that are going to hold their value for a really long time.
That's right. So we went through all the TDL archives, used the TDL supercomputer to try and figure out what are the best values out there for maintaining the residual.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a couple of options, all cars that we would recommend buying just based on their qualities, but also on top of that, the icing on the cake, they're going to hold their value for a really long time.
Exactly. So we kind of broke it down in all the different categories that you might shop in. Sedan, SUV, truck, sports car, and the EV.
There you go. All right. So I'll start off with my SUV pick because it is a little bit of a stretch. I'm not going to lie to you. But these are just fantastic vehicles. And it is the Mercedes G-Class. You got to spend some money to get into these, right? We're talking like triple figures, but six figures, excuse me. But they're going to hold their value over time. Over 7 years, over 77% of its value is going to be maintained. And that's because people want these. I mean, they're all over celebrity status kind of levels, but they've got the performance to back it up. You can go off-road with them. You can get the AMG versions to, if you want to go fast in a brick for some reason. But most importantly, they've got those little amazing door locks that everyone loves, right? And loves
the doors just sound so great opening and closing. That is just like the best sound. The clunk.
Yeah, they're a unique vehicle in the market. And Mercedes, you know, they recognize that, and you can see that they put a lot of effort into it. So when I see a car that I know the brand loves and they put attention to it, you know it's going to be on the market for a while, it's going to be supported, and it's going to be well engineered, and clearly the public thinks so as well. So if you can afford one, even on a used market, chances are it's valued for the long run as well. So
absolutely. You know, and these, you know, had a huge price premium when they were new, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was one of the, you know, situations where, you know, demand far outstrips supply, which is hard to believe in this, you know, six-figure
crazy
mega SUV like the G-Wagon. But, you know, that's part of the reason why it's kind of lingering even into the used market. So a lot of the used ones still you can buy for just barely under what their original MSRP
That's true.
was.
Yep, that's true.
And so that same situation actually hit the SUV that I'm going to talk about.
All right.
So this one is about 80% of its value after 5 years, and it was also one that had massive markups when they were new. So these kind of came out new around COVID, which is amazing because 4 years ago, they're still holding their value today. And so I'm talking about the Ford Bronco.
Oh, yeah. And we rode in one. We can attest to its capability.
We can attest to its capabilities. We got to, you know, ride in the Raptor version with Sarah Harrow, and you know, I mean, obviously massively capable vehicle, just like the G-Wagon. Not nearly as luxurious or probably well built as the G-Wagon, but again, you know, it kind of gives you that, you know, fun off-roady look. You can take the top off, you can take the doors off, you can have all that sort of fun, very similar to what you do with the Jeep Wrangler, but, you know, do it with the Ford Bronco.
Yeah, and hold your value. I mean, again, the uniqueness of these vehicles seems to play a role, right, in their ability to hold their value. And the Bronco's a great choice because it has that capability. As Greg said, we rode in one with Sarah Harrow. I'll drop that link in here in the video so you can watch that. But it's a fantastic choice, I think.
Yeah, it's a good choice if you're looking for something in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So switching gears here, no pun intended, dropping into our sports car category for myself. This is a car that recently went out of production, but I think it's one that it pulls onto the heartstrings of many automotive enthusiasts. When this car debuted, it reached pinnacle styling, honestly. Like everybody looked to it for inspiration. And this is the Audi TT, right? So based on similar architecture to my beloved Volkswagen GTI, but you know, sporty two-door, can come in coupe, can come in convertible, lots of different flavors in terms of performance. But still holds over 72% of its value after 7 years. And that's likely because now it's out of production and people are going to want it for years to come because it's such an attractive vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, the Audi TT kind of broke the market when it first came on with that Bauhaus styling.
Yeah.
Very, very unique. And yeah, it does kind of ride on the, you know, pedestrian MQB platform, but fantastic platform. I mean, you know, it's very, very modular. Volkswagen kind of use it for many, many different things. And the TT is also cool in the fact that, like, the base TT comes with a GTI engine, right?
Right.
But then you can also get it with the TTRS, which comes with that amazing 5-cylinder, and just makes the best sounds in the world.
It really does. They're cool cars.
Very cool cars. So understandable to see why another German car can actually hold its value.
Yeah.
And normally you see these guys fall off the
true.
And surprisingly, I'm going to talk about a German car too.
Hey, who knew?
This one is from a market that is just completely dumb. like this market for this car is just the stupidest thing in the world, but for whatever reason, people keep paying the money, and it just it's propping the prices up on current gens, even dating back to like the older gens as well. The older ones are still within like a stone's throw of what their original MSRPs were, and some of them are like 10 plus years old.
Yeah,
which is just hard to believe, but it's true. And so I'm talking about the Porsche 911.
Of course.
And so after 5 years, the Porsche 911 keeps 90% of its value.
That's incredible.
It is the best of any vehicle sold today that is like a true production vehicle. Like, you know, these not these one-offs or, you know, small batch type deals, but this is an actual production vehicle that holds 90% of its value after 5 years.
That's wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Literally unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it speaks to uniqueness, right? I mean, where can you find another rear-engine performance car with the capabilities that the 911 has?
I mean,
you can't.
This is the only
one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's a great call out. Yeah, 911's fantastic.
Which makes me angry because I can't buy one.
Well, why don't we move into something that you could buy?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do some affordable sedans here for myself, all right? Or hatches. My next pick here comes from the land of the rising sun, which widely known to hold their value pretty well. But here we have the Mazda 3, all right? So which came out and kind of launched Mazda's resurgence into the semi-premium market, right? So the Mazda 3 comes in that hatch format, but also as a sedan, so it gives you those choices. But it stands out because it has a more upmarket feel, and people really like that. When you sit inside of one, it does feel like something special in that segment. But it's also really affordable. So you get great performance, great reliability, really attractive both inside and out. You can count on it, and lots of people do, because apparently over 7 years they hold 84% of their value, which is crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's easy to see because the Mazda 3, reliable, comfortable, just a well-built, well-engineered car, fun to drive. Yeah. I mean, just, you know, it has wonderful handling, and, you know, frankly, like the styling kind of apes like an Alpha.
It does. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it almost looks Italian, but it's got Japanese reliability. So you're like, win-win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's real easy to see, and, you know, just the materials that they use in that is just really impressive.
Absolutely.
And better than what I'm about to call out for my small sedan.
Okay.
Choice. And so this one maintains about 80% of its value. Also, a Japanese vehicle.
There you go.
It is from our friends at Honda, and of course, I'm talking about the Civic.
Classic.
Civic, you know, again, very low barrier to entry, but you're getting a car that is probably the size of an Accord from maybe 10 years ago.
It's true.
So you're getting a car that actually has lots of usable space. It's going to be incredibly reliable for you, somewhat fun to drive, maybe not quite to the level of the Mazda 3, but again, it's still very, very fun to drive. Comes in lots of different flavors. You can go all the way from like the base Civic to a SI, which is probably going to be, you know, sort of same as like the Mazda 3 Turbo.
Right, yeah.
And then you can go all the way up to nuts with the Civic Type R.
Hey.
And all of these versions hold their value very, very strongly, so you're looking at about 80% after 5 years.
That's awesome. I mean, considering the range that it offers also, I mean, Honda really stepped up the Civic, I have to say. Like the newest generation cleans everything up. It does feel a little bit more upmarket, so I think it's a great choice. Yeah, absolutely. Staying in a relatively affordable category, we have pickup trucks.
All right.
Of course. The land of America.
The land of America. Americans love pickup trucks.
Exactly.
And so we know those are going to hold their value.
For sure. So we have, like, you know, the typical full-sizers, which are great picks for folks who need that kind of capability, but not everyone needs a full-sizer. And it seems like the mid-size market has really exploded in the last few years.
Absolutely. The full-size trucks have just risen so far in price that it costs a lot to buy them, so then you're going to have a bit more depreciation. Right. The mid-size is actually where the sweet spot is.
Apparently so. So the pick I have for you is the GMC Canyon, recently revised, actually award-winning when you consider its stablemate, right? The Chevy Colorado was Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Comes in various flavors as well, right? As most pickups do. You can go for an extreme AT4 off-roader, a classic SLE if you want to cruise around the parking lot. But, you know, you've got lots of options. And it has a really nice interior that they have you set up in. Reliable so far, it seems like, powertrain-wise that we're seeing. And it holds 84% of its value over 7 years. Wow. So it's got the capability, the size of it's almost full size. I mean, when you think about where full size pickups came from, right? You're looking at like a GMT 400 kind of setup almost, and I think it's a great pick.
Really, really good choice. My father-in-law has its, you know, Platform 8, the Colorado. And it's been just a wonderful, competent truck for him. Really comfortable to ride in, easy to drive, which is just was really what separates these from their full size friends, is that they're just a lot easier to use on a daily basis.
For sure.
So I'm going to talk about the king of the segment here in a second, which is unsurprising that it really does hold its value so well. Of course, talking about the Toyota Tacoma, holds 80% of its value after 5 years, which is just unbelievable. I mean, that's just a really, really high mark. There was a time when people were literally selling their Tacomas for almost as much as they've purchased. So that's kind of fallen off a little bit here. And some of what we're looking at with these metrics is predictability too. So it seems to have kind of dropped a little bit, but still holds its value extremely well. So if you're looking at buying a new pickup that you're going to get your money back out of, this is another great choice for you if you prefer the Tacoma.
Hard to go wrong with the Tacoma. It really is.
Famously hard to kill. We go back to the Top Gear days of the Hilux. They dropped it off a building and it still ran.
It's wild.
Threw it in a lake, still ran. But Toyota makes a really good truck in the segment.
Absolutely. So we're going to give you a couple of randoms here now. All right, some randoms and call outs. And I'm going to go with a pick I've used in a previous podcast.
Oh.
All right. So, and this actually comes from our episode on how to best spend your 48K.
Oh.
All right. So ironically, a great way to spend your money is a Chevrolet Camaro, because apparently over 7 years it holds almost 84% of its value. Most likely because they're going out of production now.
Yeah.
So people are going to want them for years to come. Again, it's the last of its breed, probably moving on to an EV type setup in the future. So people really want them. They have great capability. There's some trade-offs on them, obviously, because you're talking about sports car styling. So, interior appointments aren't what they necessarily should be for the price, perhaps, and your visibility is a little bit rough. But you discount all that, you have a fantastic handling platform. You can have a V8 with it, which is what you want to have anyway.
Absolutely.
6-speed manual, convertible coupe. It gives you those options, and I think they look great if you don't get that weird, funky SS styling.
Yeah, just
avoid the
that
2009s.
Yeah, that was just a bad year, bad design choice. They fixed it.
Yeah, they did fix it, sort of. Yeah. So there you go. Check out a Camaro.
That's a good choice. That's a good choice. It's funny you mentioned EVs.
Oh, yeah.
Because the EV segment is really known for depreciation, right? Like, I mean, these cars are depreciating like rocks.
Yes.
You can buy the Porsche Taycan. This is something that costs $150,000 new. You can find one used for $70,000-$80,000.
Wow.
Same with the Mercedes EQs. Massive price drops.
Yeah.
Teslas especially have been hit the hardest because Elon Musk is fiddling with the price constantly, which then depreciates the heck out of all those cars.
Uncertainty.
I mean, Hertz is selling off their fleet of Model 3s for pennies on the dollar. You can buy a Model 3 off of Hertz for $15,000.
Yeah.
And these were cars that cost upwards of 40 when they were new.
Let's not talk about the Fisker Ocean.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about the Fisker Ocean because I mean
they're selling like $10,000 each.
Literally, I saw a brand new one just sold for $10,000. Well, almost new. I think it had 500 miles.
Wow.
On it. Sold for $10,000 because the dealership that had it bricked on their lot.
Oh wow! So you got.
And they couldn't figure out how to get it going again, so they sold it to someone for $10,000. The guy's going to try and fix it. He's a YouTuber. Maybe we can find that link and drop it here for you guys.
There
but if you're actually looking for an EV that is going to hold most of its value, not going to be as good as the other ones that we're talking about because, again, EVs are just in that space where they're depreciating rapidly. The technology rapidly evolving, so that's a big part of the reason why the prices are kind of coming down on some of the used stuff.
Right.
So this is from one of our favorite EV manufacturers, which is obviously not Tesla. So this is from our friends at Rivian with their R1S, which is their full-size SUV. So this is a very strong segment, as you might imagine. One that people are looking to spend money in. Lots of recent players in it too, with the Kia EV9. And you can actually find an R1S for about 60% of what it costs new after 5 years.
Wow. For an EV, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. And I mean, the styling on it's really classic. It's timeless.
Yeah,
so,
it's a traditional box shape.
Right.
It's just very traditional SUV. I know some people don't like the headlights because they look kind of like, but to me, I mean, I think it is all just in kind of how you envision the nose of that thing. To me, it kind of looks like a push bar.
Yeah, I agree, actually. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
That's what I thought when they were designing it, but then other people were like, like, okay, I see that too now, but
I think it's a good-looking truck, and they recently did a revision on it. Didn't touch the exterior styling really. So
massive improvements on the interior, improvements to range, battery, and drive modes.
It kind of gives you 911 vibes. Like they only tinker with it, right?
Exactly.
Slowly over time. So
exactly.
Why mess with success?
Right. Exactly. So go with an R1S if you're thinking about trying to get some money back out of your EV.
There you go.
But even better advice is probably to lease an EV and not have to worry about it.
I agree, for sure.
All right, and our last one here, opposite to everything that we've talked about. You're probably wondering what's the worst.
You probably are.
Vehicle.
We have that
So
information.
we're just bringing this extra nugget of goodness here.
There you go.
And if you've watched our show in the past, you're probably not going to be surprised by this result, because we have literally talked about this in one of our interventions where we drove around in one of its stablemates. But it's not the Ghibli.
It's not the Ghibli.
It is the Maserati Quattroporte. Yeah. So unsurprising to see that after 5 years, it's only expected to be worth 35% of its original value. So if you thought EVs were bad, Maseratis are worse.
Stay away.
Specifically the Quattroporte. Again, we've called this out a few times on our show, right?
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it as being one of the oldest platforms out there. Like I think it came out in 2015?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So it's been out for about 10 years now with basically zero changes. You can find one used of the current body style for like 15 grand. And we're not talking about a car with like 200,000 miles on it. A, Maserati won't make it that far. And B, it's been in the shop too long, just like someone's Jaguar from his previous episode. And C,
I'm gonna go buy this car.
and C, I mean, it's only going to have like 60, 70,000 miles on it, and it's only going to cost you 15 grand.
That's insane.
Which is insane for a car that costs 6 figures new.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's less than Nissan Sentra.
Yeah, it is less than these. You could be rolling in a Quattroporte, put it on Turo, and nobody will rent it.
You'll be picking up pieces of it as you drive it, but hey, it's a Maserati.
Little check engine light comes on to get mean comments in our comments.
I know.
That's fine.
Well,
it's all good.
It's all fact. Sorry, we don't set anything up. So maybe that's why the depreciation is so terrible.
Part of it, yes, definitely part of the reason. It is.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our episode on appreciation and depreciation there.
Thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing.